Shalom. Giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. May Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai's peace be bestowed unto you. Hopefully let your brother Yahweh call from Great Millstone, Orlando. It's always been a question for the most part over the years. What is it going to take for these simple Babylonians to get roused up and tear this place apart? And I just always thought it would always come in the form of, or the reason being, pretty much the straw that breaks the camel's back is, one, the food, attacking the people where it hurts the most, and that's their belly and their wallet. And as we're seeing the squeeze, the pinch, dealing with the food stamps, all right, which, just speaking as a man, because as it looks as of right now, they could be using that small crisis to maybe usher in, this new system. All right. But likewise, when it comes to the money, people not being able to access their so-called hard-earned money, which could be another avenue in them ushering in the new system. As the prophecy states in Revelation 13, in order to buy and sell, all right, you're going to have that C-hip is going to be the new form of currency and partaking in the society. So, again, just speaking as a man, those two being the two main forms of humbling these people, getting the people roused up for them to finally stir this chaos so it justifies them in bringing in the order. Because again, when people wake up and they can't access their money, they can't pay their bills, you see, this is what the elites, they're doing. What they're doing is backing everyone into this corner. And when it's all said and done, he's going to present the solution, because everyone is crying out. And like the scripture say, when the wicked rule, the people mourn. All right. So the people are crying out, and they're going to continue to cry out. And by that time, when it's the time of the MOTB to be presented to the world, these people, specifically these Babylonians, these Americans, without thought, they're going to take that MOTB. All right. So these are just all steps, avenues, preludes. All right. Again, Esau attacking the people where it hurts. So as the spiritual weatherman, the forecastman of prophecy, all right, the forecasters of prophecy, just keeping an eye on everything and just reporting on it. Again, this is just another one of those avenues, Lord willing, that's going to expedite the process of the MOTB and the system being ushered in and forced. Well, everyone will be forced to make a decision. Even the elect, that's why the scriptures say the elect have to live by faith. Right? The elect living by faith, the just living by faith. Because it's in some way, shape, form, or fashion, we're going to be affected as well. So with that being said, I got this video here. All right. And we're just going to play through this, Lord willing.
The American banking system is in a crisis. They've just gone and done the exact same mistake that they did in 2008. Because one thing we learned from history is we don't learn from history. But this crisis that is brewing right now is much, much bigger than what happened in 2008. And in today's video, I'm going to go over exactly how in the next crisis, there won't be bailouts by the taxpayers for the banking system. It'll actually be much worse. We're going to have bank bail-ins where banks can legally take your deposits and you can't do absolutely anything about it. That is, unless you listen to what I'm about to say in this video. Because the new crisis that's building underneath the surface is not subprime mortgages, it's actually the derivatives market. And for those of you who don't know what derivatives are, they're simply bets or massive leverage bets on financial markets. And Warren Buffett has coined these as financial weapons of mass destruction. And this leverage debt, these leverage bets have ballooned to over $220 trillion, almost 10 times the amount of US GDP and over 10 times the amount of US deposits in the banking system. And if you think regulators cleaned up all this mess after 2008, they didn't. The risk didn't disappear, it evolved. It grew even bigger, became more complex, and is now buried under layers of financialization designed specifically to hide its true catastrophic scale. We are talking about hundreds of trillions in interconnected bets built on top of debt and extreme leverage. So what could go wrong, right? Now, it's one thing to know that these markets are extremely dangerous and extremely highly leveraged, but we need to know what will be the fuse that will kick off the bank bail-ins. Well, it may have just been lit. When the last month we have seen the quiet collapse of several key companies. And this could be the tripwire that ignites the $220 trillion bomb. So the trigger for the next crisis, like in the last one, is always found in the everyday struggles of the American consumer. And right now, one essential item is hitting a breaking point, and that is the American's car. With 77% of Americans relying on a car to get to work, it's not a luxury, it's a necessity. Yet the average monthly car payment has soared to over $750. This is the third largest credit category in the country, behind only mortgages and student loans. Now, the problem isn't the payment itself, it's who is getting the loans. Lenders like Prima Lender, Tricolor, and others who have recently gone under. They kept issuing loans to anyone and everyone, even those who clearly couldn't afford the payments, and this is a definition of subprime lending. Now, when a few of these subprime auto lenders collapse, it sends a tremor through the financial system. We saw this exact type of credit crack just before 2008 with the initial housing failures. Today, it's the car loan market. But this isn't the risk. This is just an early warning. The real risk comes next, because these auto lenders knew these loans were risky. So what did they do? Well, guess what? Can you believe it? They did the exact same thing as they did to mortgages in 2008. They took thousands of these subprime auto loans, bundled them all together, and sold them off as a single financial product. This is a process called securitization. So they took all these subprime auto loans, mixed them together with these good loans, sliced and diced them, mixed it around, and then they sold it off to the US banks, private equity firms, and shadow lenders. So suddenly you have layers and layers of risk disguised as stability. But here's the kicker. They withstand with a AAA rating the highest level of safety. And this is why I'm now making this video, because beneath that gold rating are borrowers defaulting at the highest level since 2009. So the risk is not in the single loan, it's not even in the company that issued the loan. The risk is on the exponential betting on top of one underlying failing asset. That is the definition of a derivative. A couple of loans go bad, and it's not just the loans that collapse, it's the tens of layers of financial bets piled on top of it. And this is exactly why Warren Buffett called them weapons of mass destruction. So again, this derivatives market is over $220 trillion when the US economy is $30 trillion. And the bad thing is, this market is not slowing down, it's ballooning. Because from Q4 last year to Q2 this year, US banks added over $28 trillion of derivative exposure. Now, where was a regulator that was supposed to stop this in 2008? The 2010 Dodd-Frank Act was supposed to make the system safe, but what we got was watered down, ineffective rules that were often unenforced or even rolled back. The prime example was the failure of Silicon Valley Bank, which was exempted from strict regulatory oversight just a few years before its collapse. But get this over $220 trillion of derivatives only accounts for what we can see for US regulated banks. It completely ignores the world of shadow banking, the hedge funds, private equity firms, and money market funds that operate outside of transparency.
And that's why America is in a hell of a lot more debt than what they say it is when you take into consideration, like my man here just said, all these other outside factors. But making the point, because for one, all this, of course, preaching to the choir, all this is orchestrated, all right? It's a controlled demolition for the most part, all right? But when you have a system, because the scriptures talk about the unjust balances, all right? It's an abomination to the Lord. You see, and when you have a whole system that's based off of debt, I'm gonna go to this in Habakkuk 2. And this is why we're going to see Esau going at his own people. All right. Because what is Esau doing? The elites, they're taking from their own people now. This is why you see the regular, average Edomite out here want to cry out. We all bleed red, brother, right? You know, because they're starting to feel what Jake has been feeling already. You know, Jake has been going through this. You see, so the elites, the rich elites, are taken from the regular elite. You know, the rich elites are taken away from their own people. The you know, regular class and whatnot. You know, the middle class and whatnot. You know, doing away with the middle class. You see, so Esau is taken away from his own people. So Habakkuk 2:5, yea, also because he transgresses by wine. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell. And we're seeing that with this, you know, the conflict with Venezuela, which we should know. We should be able to see behind the smoke and mirrors dealing with that. All right. Because here it is, we're getting ready to Babylon is getting ready to go to war. You know, and you know, they need that, they need those resources. That's what Esau does. He takes all the resources. He sucks up all the resources. He comes in with his economic kick, man. All right. Like I just said, he transgresses by wine. All right. Democracy and things of that nature. You know, and he takes you for your resources. You see, and Lord willing, I'm gonna post a little short clip on my backup channel by the time this goes up, Lord willing, on why, because you know this conflict between, or well, this conflict from within over there in Nigeria, which Babylon is talking about. Trump is talking about snooping around. All right, going over there, you know. Which the scripture said not to meddle in another man's matters, you know. But with that being said, it's already coming out. The strategic reason why Trump wants to even go over there in the first place. So Lord, one of them will post a little. If I didn't already, I might have already. But if I didn't, you know, that video will be in my backup channel. And for those that don't know, I always post links to my backup channels and you know, my description. You know, all the links to all my backup channels I always post in the description. Actually, I just because you know the Spirit just told me to just do an appeal, and I actually got my very first channel that got deleted. Because this page was originally my backup channel, but my main channel got deleted. But it just recently got, you know, they recently just gave me that channel back. So you know, I'm gonna see what I can do with that, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I'm gonna post that video, Lord willing, if I haven't already. Post a short clip, or I might have posted it on this channel, one of the two. But the link will be in the description, nevertheless. But this is what Esau does. All right, like I said, he neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his hell as desire, Salaki, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. Because you see, that's why it's going to get to a point where he, you know, Esau, he wants your soul, man. He wants your spirit, which he's not going to be able to the elect are not going to sell out. All right. And that's why Yahushua ultimately has to take this man out, because leave it up to Esau, he won't stop. He's never satiated. He's never satisfied. He's just going to bloodthirsty. He's just going to keep going. It says, but gather unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. So like I said, you know, taking up all the resources. All right. It says, verse 6, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. So going into that debt. All right. Making a point, you know, you this whole system, man. And that's why, as I've been saying over the years, man, because you can only inflate the balloon for so long. Eventually that balloon is going to pop. So this debt bubble, man, you can keep putting air in it, but eventually the shit's going to pop, man. And when it does, oh my goodness, the consequences are going to be catastrophic, and we love to see it. We love to see it. You know, hey, recently reported on this crypto crash, market crash, a couple of weeks ago. I think it was back in September or October. You know, and hey, a lot of these holders, man, they went nuts. They ended up deleting themselves. You know, so again, imagine that, man. Because this is what Esau setting up. All right, going into these old bail-ins, which, you know, we touched on this over the years as well. Going into these bail-ins, all right, in order to keep basically they're setting it up to where they can legally take your money, all right, legally take your money. Which again, I mean, it's a system that's fraudulent as it is. When you go into the whole fractioning reserve, all right, but basically they because you have $500,000, you know, you check your bank account online, and just because you have 5,000 credits, that doesn't mean you can go to the bank and you know, take out $500,000. You know, what they do is they loan a certain percentage of those funds out, all right, and then they loan a certain percentage of those funds, and then, you know, it's just a system that's again, man, it's just based off of debt, man, and you know, it's going to get so bad to the point where they just going, people's pensions, 401ks, and so on and so forth. Which, like I said, man, because these other nations, this is why they've been protesting over the years, man, for far less. All right, for far less. You know, raising their retirement plan. This is why a lot of countries are in an uproar. All right, because this is what Esau does. He comes in with this economic hitman. All right. You know, and, you know, so on and so forth. We should know the playbook by now. But just making the point, man, because, man, when this debt bubble, when it implodes, man, when it explodes, man, oh my goodness, it's going to be catastrophic. You know, so like the saying goes, you can only kick the can down the road for so long. Eventually, the road comes to an end. You know, you can inflate this balloon with air, but for so long, eventually, man, this bubble's getting ready to pop.
See, the total true derivative risk in the market is more likely over $1 quadrillion, numbers we can't even get our head around. But the most critical difference between now and 2008 is not the size of the risk, it's who pays for it. In 2008, we saw tax-funded bailouts, and this led to a public outcry. And what this all led to was the Dodd-Frank Act, and this completely changed the game of what happens when a bank fails. Instead of the taxpayer bailing out the banks or some kind of bank bailout, they created a new law where banks can legally bail in your money. This is a scenario where the bank facing failure can use its creditors' funds to absorb losses and recapitalize itself. And who are the bank's primarily unsecured creditors? The depositors. That is you. Under bail-in, your savings account, your checking account, your retirement depositors are legally at risk of being converted into bank equity, shares in a failing institution to keep the bank whole and save the system. And for those of you saying, wait, whoa, what about FDIC? My deposits are safe, right? Well, if only one small institution or a few small regional banks like what happened with Silicon Valley Bank go down, maybe yes. But here's the thing. The FDIC insurance only covers 1.3% of deposits in the US banking system. There's over $20 trillion of deposits in the banking system, and the FDIC doesn't simply have enough to cover all of this. And this is why the bank bail-in mechanism had to be introduced, because the FDIC and government simply cannot afford to bail out these banks because they've become so massive. Now, if you think it's just a theoretical concept and it's very unlikely to happen, well, it's already happened multiple times in multiple countries. Because listen to this. In Cyprus in 2013, 2 of their major banks failed. What was the solution? Was a straight-up deposit haircut. Anyone with over 100,000 euros in their bank account saw half of their deposits seized and converted into worthless bank equity. The savers were punished while the bank itself was kept afloat. But we've got another more recent example. In Lebanon in 2020, amid hyperinflation, the government immediately froze all customer accounts overnight. No ATM access, no withdrawals. For 2 years, citizens had no access to their cash. Eventually, half of their deposits were seized. So in both cases, the governments that printed too much money and the banks that had too much speculation, well, they were largely untouched, while those, the prudent savers, they were punished. So again, this isn't just a possibility. This is the legal foundation foundation that's been laid under US law. And that's why we have to look at the warning signs. Defaults of the underlying assets of these derivatives are rising. This is very much a possibility, and you're at risk of footing the bill for the bank's poor decisions. And I believe a bank bail-in will go hand in hand with the next stage of currency devaluation. We're already seeing how much they're devaluing your money, and this will also go hand in hand if the US saw some kind of hyperinflation. But for those of you that are watching now, there is still time to protect your wealth. Most people...
And this is all these people can tell you to do. Get out the system, get into the gold, right? Get into crypto. Get into the assets and all this, but none of these things are going to save you. All right. Again, this is why the just are going to have to live by faith. This man is wicked, man. Set it up to where he can legally take your money. And Yahweh Bashim Shabbat, because it ain't like, for the most part, it ain't like a lot of us got money anyways. So you can take the change that I got. It won't make me no difference anyways. But I'm gonna get this in Isaiah 10. Isaiah 10 and 13. For he saith, by the strength of my hand I have done it, and by my wisdom, for I am prudent, and I have removed the bounds of the people, and have robbed their treasures. I have robbed their treasures, and I have put down the inhabitants like a valiant man. And my hand hath found as a nest the riches of the people. And as one gathereth eggs that are left, have I gathered all the earth, and there was none that moved the wing, or opened the mouth, or peeped. So again, man, it's just a recipe for Esau to back everyone into a corner. Everyone crying out for a solution, and he's going to present that solution in the form of that MOCB. The writing is on the wall. All right. Esau, he's wicked. He's taken from his own people. All right. And as the scripture say, if he doesn't do good to himself, he's an unjust ruler, an unfit king, man. This man is wicked. But by all means, any means necessary for everyone to comply with this enterprise. I'll say it like that. So, Lord, willing, this was edifying. All praises to Yahweh Bashim Shah. Shalom to you. Hopefully, let.